In the corner of a silent night, a tiny lamp still glows, while storms shout at the windows, its gentle courage shows. The winds may roar like angry kings demanding it to fall, yet in that fragile flame there lives a strength outlasting all. Darkness spreads its heavy wings across the trembling sky, whispering to broken hearts, "It's time to give up, why try?" But deep inside the human chest, where quiet dreams still cope, a little fire refuses death, the golden lamp of hope. It flickers when the tears arrive like uninvited rain. It bends beneath the weight of loss, of sorrow, fear, and pain. Yet every drop that tries to drown its softly shining ray becomes the oil that helps it burn a brighter light each day. In alleys where forgotten souls walk barefoot on despair, where hunger writes its history in eyes too tired to care, a spark appears in smallest acts, a smile, a piece of bread, and suddenly the night steps back where kindness dares to tread. Hope is not a shouting voice that drowns the world in sound. It is a quiet melody beneath the chaos found. It lives inside the trembling hand that still decides to try, inside the fallen dreamer who looks up at the sky. When failure builds a mountain high and blocks the forward view, when every road you ever knew no longer leads you through, a single thought begins to glow. This is not the end. And in that thought, a hidden door begins itself to bend. The lamp of hope is small. It's true. It doesn't blind the night. It doesn't end all suffering or turn wrong into right. But it can guide one step ahead when all the world is gone. And one step is enough to start the journey toward the dawn. In hospital rooms filled with beeps that measure fragile breath, where families bargain silently with fate and fear and death, a whispered prayer, a holding hand, a tear that says, "Stay strong," becomes the wick that keeps the flame of courage burning long. When students fail, when workers fall, when plans collapse like sand, when life redraws the map we held so tightly in our hand, hope doesn't promise easy roads or skies forever blue. It only says, "Walk one more step. There's still a way for you." The soldier lost in memory, the widow dressed in gray, the child who waits for footsteps that have slowly walked away. They carry nights too deep for words, too heavy to explain. Yet still within their broken ribs, a pulse defies the pain. That pulse is hope, a stubborn drum that will not cease its beat, a barefoot will that keeps on walking on wounded, bleeding feet. It builds a bridge from what was lost to what may someday be, a fragile thread across the void of dark uncertainty. Hope is the seed beneath the snow that winter cannot see, the silent plan inside the shell of what will be a tree. It sleeps inside the hardest times, but never truly dies, for buried in the coldest earth, a warmer future lies. The lamp of hope is often lit by someone else's light, a stranger's word, a friend who stays, a hand that holds you tight. And when your own flame nearly fades beneath the weight of years, another heart can shield it gently from the storm of fears. So guard that little lamp you hold when nights are long and steep, when promises lie shattered and your faith begins to weep. For though its glow may seem too weak to fight the endless scope, inside that trembling point of fire lies all the strength of hope. When roads are drawn in question marks and futures fade to gray, when yesterday feels far too bright and joy has lost its way, the lamp of hope does not predict the shape of things to come. It only hums a quiet truth. You're more than what you've done. It glows in prison cells where bars slice shadows on the floor, where regrets echo louder than the closing of the door. A letter, worn and reread, a memory of a name, can turn a heart from stone again and coax a human flame. It shines on mothers waiting up long past the midnight hour, counting every passing car, praying for heaven's power. Though fear knocks hard upon the chest with every ticking clock, hope sits beside her tired eyes, a calm, unyielding rock. In fields where farmers scan the sky that has forgotten rain, where cracked earth mirrors silent prayers whispered again and again, a single cloud on the horizon, thin as silver thread, becomes enough for weary souls to lift a hopeful head. Hope lives in yet and still and maybe, quiet, small, unseen, in spaces where not now still means someday might have been. It paints tomorrow in faint lines when today is torn apart, a soft rehearsal of a dawn inside the dreaming heart. The lamp of hope is not naive. It knows of grief and scars. It has walked barefoot over glass and slept beneath the stars. It has been lost in wars of words and storms of inner blame. Yet every time it fell to ash, it rose a steadier flame. When friendship breaks like fragile glass and trust lies on the ground, when love becomes a ghost that haunts without a single sound, hope whispers. Hearts can heal again, though now they bleed and ache. And from the ruins of goodbye, new doors begin to wake. It glimmers in the classroom where a child begins to read, each letter like a stepping stone, each word a planted seed. A future shifts in tiny hands that hold a borrowed book, while destiny rewrites itself in one determined look. Hope is the breath before the leap, the pause before the start, the trembling yes that leaves the lips of a doubtful heart. It is the thread in fragile wings that dare to test the air, the silent vote for courage cast in moments of despair. When age bends backs and slows the steps of those who've journeyed far, when mirrors show a different face and time reveals each scar, hope is the smile in wrinkled eyes that still can find delight, a candle lit from memory that softens coming night. The lamp of hope can travel too, from person unto soul. A story shared, a pain confessed, can make the shattered whole. For when we speak our hidden storms and dare to be revealed, we find that many other hearts have carried wounds concealed. So hope becomes a woven cloth of me and you and us, a tapestry of fragile lights that glow because they trust. Alone, a flame may fear the wind that hunts it through the dark, but joined with others, small lights grow into a fearless spark. In cities loud with rushing feet and minds too tired to feel, hope hides inside the simple acts that make the chaos heal. A seat offered, a door held wide, a listening, patient ear, small mercies stitching human hearts back closer, year by year. The lamp of hope will sometimes dim, will shake, will almost fall, but dim is not the same as dead. It answers still the call. For deep within its quiet core, beyond what eyes can see, lives something stronger than the night. A stubborn, let it be. And so it waits through longest hours when nothing seems to move, when life feels like an empty page with nothing left to prove. Then suddenly, like morning light that slips through curtains closed, a path appears where none had been, a door once tightly posed. The lamp of hope does not demand that fear should disappear. It simply stands beside your fear and says, I'm also here. Two truths can live within one heart, the worry and the will, and hope is just the gentler voice that chooses forward still. In deserts of uncertainty where maps have blown away, where every step feels borrowed from a strength that cannot stay, hope is the footprint left behind by someone who passed through, a silent proof in shifting sands. Survival can be you. It lingers in the voice that cracks yet chooses still to speak, in apologies that rise at last from hearts once proud and weak. To say, I was wrong, is lighting wicks in rooms long sealed by pride, and hope walks in through open doors where truth no more must hide. When dreams collapse like paper walls in unexpected rain, and years of careful building sink in seconds down the drain, hope kneels beside the broken plans, not mocking what has been, but gathering the scattered bricks to help you build again. It does not rush your healing pace nor shame the tears you cry. It sits with you on shattered floors and lets the questions lie. For hope is not a hurried cure or forced, pretending smile. It is a hand that stays with you and rests with you a while. The lamp of hope glows differently in every human chest. In some it burns a roaring gold, in some a fragile guest. But size does not decide its worth nor volume make it strong. For even whispers change the course of nights that feel too long. It lives in art born out of ache. A poem, a song, a line, where pain is poured through trembling hands and shaped into design. What once was wound becomes a bridge from lonely soul to soul, and in that shared humanity, the fractured start to whole. Hope stands beside the hospital bed where futures hang in air. It speaks through doctors' quiet nods and nurses' patient care. In charts and scans and measured words, in science, skill, and grace, the lamp of hope wears many forms, yet keeps the self-same face. When headlines scream of shattered lands and cruelty displayed, when faith in human goodness seems to flicker, faint and frayed, Hope hides in those who run toward fire when others run away, in hands that lift, in hearts that give, in those who choose to stay. It glows in second chances granted not because we're owed, but simply cause compassion chose another kind of road. A past mistake need not define the sum of who you are, for hope redraws the boundaries of how wide forgiveness are. Hope is the breath you didn't know you held inside your chest, released when you decide at last to give yourself some rest. It's saying, I can't fix it all, but I can try today. A gentle truce with yesterday that helps you find a way. The lamp of hope will sometimes hide beneath exhaustion's weight, when every dream feels overdue and every door feels late. Yet even buried under dust of should have and too slow, a single act of kindness makes its quiet ember glow. It shines in teachers staying late, in workers doing more, in those who fight for someone else they may not know the name for. In people choosing, day by day, to soften what is hard. Hope writes its light in ordinary lives that go unstarred. When storms inside the mind grow loud and shadows start to shout. When thoughts become a maze of doubt with no clear pathway out. Hope is not always certainty or bright, triumphant cheer. Sometimes it's simply reaching out and saying, stay, I'm here. The lamp of hope is passed along in stories elders tell, of darker nights already faced and times that ended well. What feels forever now? They say, one day will just be then. And in their eyes, the proof still shines. We can begin again. It glimmers in forgiveness given quietly, unseen, in letting go of heavy stones we carried in between. For hope grows light in open hands, not fists that clutch the past. And peace begins in small releases made at last, at last. Hope is the child who dares to ask the questions adults fear, the why not, rising like a bird when limits hover near. It is the chalk on broken walls that draws a future bright, a sun sketched large and golden in the middle of the night. And when at last the darkest hour before the morning lies, when even stars seem tired of burning in the skies, the lamp of hope is smallest then, yet also most profound, for just before the dawn arrives, its quiet is the sound. It whispers, not in thunder tones but soft as falling snow. Hold on a little longer. You are closer than you know. And in that breath between despair and light we cannot see, hope stands, a tiny, steady flame, and that is enough to be beyond the hills of almost gave and valleys lined with doubt, where echoes of you cannot still wander in and out. Hope builds a quiet cottage there with windows facing east, awaiting dawn with patient eyes, where night's long rule has ceased. It knows the language of the tired, the sigh too deep for sound, the look of someone standing up though life has knocked them down. It does not ask for grand displays or proof of mighty scope. It crowns the smallest rising act as evidence of hope. The lamp of hope remembers you when you forget your name, when mirrors feel like strangers and your spark seems hard to claim. Keeps a record not of falls but every time you rose, a secret book of bravery only your true heart knows. It glows beside the refugee who carries home in mind, in memories wrapped carefully no border guards can find. Though roads are long and loss is wide as oceans left behind, hope is the compass in the chest that points to humankind. In workshops where new skills are learned by hands that once knew none, in first day nerves and try again, when past attempts have done, hope hums inside the learning curve, the courage to be new, for every master once began unsure of what to do. It shines in those who choose to love in worlds that taught them fear, who open doors of tenderness though heartbreak lingers near. To love again is striking flint where ashes used to lie, a brave defiance of the past beneath a softer sky. The lamp of hope sits in the pause before a harsh reply, in breaths we take to cool the flame of anger burning high, in choosing words that heal, not harm, when hurt would rather shout. Hope turns the course of history by what we leave unsaid out. It grows in soil of gratitude for ordinary grace, a meal, a bed, a patch of sun upon a weary face. To notice good amid the gray is not to blindness cope. It is to feed the hidden wick, the living thread of hope. Hope does not fear the changing tides nor seasons turning cold. It trusts that even falling leaves make room for roots to hold. What looks like loss may be the space where stronger things begin, a quiet clearing in the woods where light can now come in. The lamp of hope has traveled through the centuries of pain, through plagues and wars and shattered crowns and tears like endless rain. Yet still it burns in human eyes that choose to stand and care, a heritage of stubborn light we're all invited to share. It lives in promises we keep when no one else can see, in doing right in secret rooms where only we can be. Integrity, a silent flame, though small and rarely praised, builds cities of tomorrow on foundations quietly raised. When art is made from broken parts, mosaics out of shards, hope smiles in colored fragments set like medals, not like scars. What shattered once becomes a shape no whole piece could compose, and beauty born of fracture is a deeper light that glows. Hope sits with those who sit alone, who feel the world moved on. It says, your story still is here, your chapter not yet done. A single page unread remains, a turn not yet explored, and futures hide in moments still unopened, unexplored. The lamp of hope is not a lie we tell to ease the ache. It is a truth the dark forgets but morning will remake. For night, no matter how it boasts of endless, starless rain, has never stopped the sun from rising time and time again. So when your strength feels borrowed and your courage paper thin, when every step feels like a fight you're tired of living in, remember not the miles ahead that twist beyond your scope. Just tend the flame within your hands, the quiet lamp of hope. Shield it from winds of cruel words and storms of self-blame rain. Feed it with rest, with honest tears, with asking help in pain. For hope is not a lonely task nor burden yours alone. It brightens most when shared between two hearts that have both known. And when one day you turn around to trace the path you've made, through nights you thought you'd never cross and fears you slowly faced, you'll see behind you, lighting roads for someone else to cope, the trail you left, each step aglow, your own passed on hope. Then you'll become the lamp you sought in hours you once felt small, a living proof to wandering souls that light can outlast all. And in the chain of human hands where fragile flames elope, you'll find you were, and still will be, the keeper of the hope.